Hey everybody, Chris from Six Wins here with Matt. Switching up the format a little bit today. So right now we're doing the best TV show bracket, right? And we are huge fans of some of these shows. So we wanted to do a slightly deeper dive to each of these shows. And we had this idea to do a top, not 5, top, not 10, but top 6 of each episode.
So 6 wins.
6 wins. So you saw the title of the video. We're here. We're going to do each of our top 6 South Park episodes.
Oh, man.
Let's get into these top 6 episodes. You want to kick it off with your number 6?
Yeah, and these, I don't know how you kind of decided, but these are going to be like our personal top 6. Like, this is not necessarily we're taking in like the rating on Rotten Tomatoes of the episodes or things like that and us saying why we liked the number 1. Like, some of these might not be high on the list. There could be surprises for our list. These are all personal. So we actually encourage you to say, like, hey, I like some of those too, and I think they're underrated. Or like, well, here's my own personal top 6. I never agreed that like these 2 are the best episodes. So you might get some weird things on here.
Yeah, and if you disagree, let us know in the comments. Yeah. Everyone disagrees. And if you have a different one that doesn't get mentioned with our top 6s, let us know. We're curious. I've seen pretty much everyone, but some of them slip through the cracks. I'm curious. So.
All right, well, we'll kick it off. My number 6 favorite South Park episode of all time. This was a hard one for me to place. I had it between 2. I'm ending up going with Woodland Critter Christmas for the kind of big reveal at the end. If you've seen me talk about TV shows, you know I kind of like Twilight Zones and some of those sort of like short story-esque kind of storytelling where you set up an expectation and then there's this big just like twist, or in South Park terms, like just punch in the nuts, and you're like, oh my god, this got dark. Woodland Critter Christmas is an episode where Stan is kind of recruited by talking animals. It seems like a cute sort of like Christmassy feel-good episode where they really need him to help save Christmas, and he goes out of his way to do all these things to help these poor woodland critters, only to find out that he's been maybe not made aware of what he's really helping, what he's really doing in the end. And it's a really great dark twist episode.
Yeah.
What about your number 6?
My 6th favorite South Park episode of all time is The Losing Edge. The one where the boys are playing summer baseball.
Oh, that one's so good.
Yeah, and they hate it. They hate playing baseball, so they try as hard as they can to lose. Little do they know, all the other teams also hate playing baseball, so they go up against this team that not only is trying to lose, they got really good at losing. So, for example, the pitcher knows how to like pitch and hit the bat, so then they're forced to run. And then the second story arc happening is the classic Randy Marsh wanting to be the top dog parent, always getting into fights with the other dads, and then he has to go up against Bad Dad, who's like the worst dad that always gets in the fight. He's like, oh, you think you're a drunk idiot? Well, I'm Bad Dad. And so it becomes this like Rocky story where he challenges Bad Dad, and the classic like gets his ass kicked, and he's like, I ain't hear no bell. So that's my number 6.
Dude, I have to stop us there because I have to talk more about this episode. That one is so good. I'm so mad that like I didn't have that on my list. That would be like a 2 or 3 for me, maybe. Like looking back. I don't know, like, did you grow up playing like a lot of sports like all year round?
I did.
And like for me, like I played a lot of sports all year round, but baseball just seemed to go on the longest. And I just related to it so much. Like you just wanted baseball to end. It's like you're like, I don't want to keep playing baseball. It was just like the slowest sport. It required you to be there for so long and do so little. And then of course this storyline, like you said, the B story with like, really like aggressive dads and like fans for sports, like it's still a thing. It's a perfect episode. And the fact that like the other team is like so good at like even when they're batting, hitting it right into like Butters' glove, like sitting there picking his nose, like, God dang it, Butters! Wow, like all the kids are mad at Butters, all the fans for their team are like cheering for him because they want their kids to be successful. It's that perfect disconnect between like adults and kids, and adults wanting something that their kids don't want, like forcing it on them. It's such a great episode. Honestly, that could be a number 1. Well, let's kick off number 5 then. I'll go with my next number 5. This one is also off the beaten path. I believe it's called You Have Zero Friends. And I don't remember that much about it, but I know it was kind of like a Facebook parody, and it famously had the character Kip Jordy, who was like this new included character that was kind of a nerd. This is why I picked it, because it has one of the like most happy endings of a South Park episode, where like, I don't know who does like, one of the characters finally realizes that like they don't need Facebook and they're like gonna give it up, and they can do it in a way where it like sends all of their friends to like Kip Jordy. I want to say it's Kyle, could be Stan though, and like Kip Jordy's trying to get all these friends this whole time, and the boys are like obsessed with Facebook, and then realize no, it's not worth it. And Kip Jordy's just sitting there in like the last scene, and all of a sudden it finally dings up. He gets one friend, and then it just skyrockets. He gets all of them, and just like the happiness of it. Yeah. Again, like you said, it's South Park stepping back and not being completely like cruel and like bitter about social media and saying it's all bad, because it brings a lot of people joy who otherwise don't have that kind of connection to people in real life, but also not being like, this thing gets off scot-free, it doesn't cause a lot of problems and issues. Right. And so I picked that one as Zero Friends. I'd put Losing Edge in here now. Kick that one out.
Yeah, no, it's a great episode. Like I said, I don't remember a lot of the details, but I remember Stan going into Facebook and it being like a very like VR, virtual reality kind of thing. Like almost like, I mean, I think that's almost like what Meta is now.
They want it to be, yeah.
For sure. But so my 5th favorite South Park episode of all time, Margaritaville. So that's the one where the economy has collapsed, like in real life. Like it was like 2008, 2009, like the whole housing crisis and recession or whatever. And it starts off, it's my favorite opening scene of any South Park, where they go into the bank. Randy is very excited for Stan to open an account and put in his like $100. And the bank teller is like, oh, you're opening an account, that's very good. And I'm very proud, and it's gone.
And it's gone.
He's like, what? He goes, yeah, it's gone. It didn't do too well. Poof. and then Randy's like, well, what are you talking about? He goes, oh, Mr. Marsh, I'm so glad we could just transfer some money from your account into Stan's account, and it's gone. It's so good. And then scene for scene is one of my favorite, top 5, obviously, but there's no weak scenes in the show. It takes this story arc where it's like biblical, like it has that like the Passover story, parallels the economy, and then there's that one scene where they go into that Sur de Table store, and everything that ends in ABLE, the guy pronounces like, sorry sir, I'm not able to make this purchase. Sorry, do you need another tablet? And so just pound for pound, really, really funny episode for me.
Yeah, nice. All right, well, I guess we are almost halfway, but not quite. We're on our number 4s. My 4th favorite South Park episode. This is probably my most oddball one. The last 2 I don't know.
South Park oddball?
It's the episode called Canceled, and you would think it's a more modern one dealing with cancel culture and PC principle storyline and things like that. But this is another one of those kind of really unique like premise, Twilight Zone-ish short story ideas. The whole premise is that like Earth, and I think this was kind of on the follow-up of reality TV getting really big, but Earth is a reality show.
It's everyone's favorite show, Earth! It's been 100 Galgamars since we first took species from 17 different planets and put them all together on the same planet. They've fought and fallen in love. What will happen this Galgamar? Tune in Janamon at 8 to find out. It's Earth on Fognal.
I think the premise alone is one of those that like people 10 and 15 years from now will do in shows, and people will look back and be like, oh, like South Park did that. Like I bet they got this idea from South Park. Like we've seen like time loop things, like all these kind of like premises that come back, like people use. So like this idea that we're really just a show of entertainment for aliens. And I mean, even you could even say like Shakespeare wrote like all the world is a stage and the people are but it's players and things like that. So the idea that like maybe we're all just performers for somebody we can't see out there is a storyline that's been around for a long time. But I love it. South Park did it really well. The aliens are doing weird drugs and blow, and they're gonna cancel Earth and just blow up the planet, and the boys have to try and convince the aliens that our show, our Earth, is worth watching.
My 4th favorite South Park episode is Trapped in the Closet. Classic Tom Cruise. Well, what happens is Stan, I think he's trying to like find a solution to his homework or something like this, and then they find that Stan is like the prophet of Scientology. So they all like bow down to him, and then so Tom Cruise goes over and SHIT hits the fan, and he goes and hides in the closet. And then R. Kelly comes and does his song about, I'm trapped in the closet. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a midget. Like, part 29, whatever. And just that soundbite of Stan being like, Mom, Tom Cruise won't come out of the closet. Like, that's what the whole show became about. And they basically told the future, like, what was going to happen with that episode, because it's super controversial. They end it with Tom Cruise being like, I'm going to sue you. And they're like, well, fine, go ahead, sue us. We don't care. And sure enough, after the episode aired, Tom Cruise sued him for defamation. So just super funny, and just one of those episodes that, like, classic.
100% agree. I can actually just jump into my number 3, because my number 3 favorite episode, I did have Trapped in the Closet as well. Was this the episode where they explained Scientology's beliefs? It was like their first Scientology episode, and I think they do episodes like that really well. So Trapped in the Closet for me as well.
Love it. So number 3, right? We're on number 3?
Yeah, you're on your number 3. Top half.
So my third favorite South Park episode of all time. This is one that you will see on many lists in the top 5.
I peaked.
Scott Tannerman must die. Just a classic story of Cartman just really coming to his own. They were really starting to hone in on who Cartman was as a character. And it's just one thing after another where Cartman thinks he's plotting on this Scott Tannerman kid, but he keeps getting screwed over. He keeps, the gear, whatever you want to say. But then the end builds up, and you don't know what he's got going on behind the scenes. The only thing that they're showing you as the viewer is the ways that Scott Tannerman knows what's coming. So he's like planning against Cartman, and what it is that he puts all the kids' pubes into the chili. So you think that's going to be the big thing. But the big thing was, behind the scenes, Cartman was murdering Scott Tannerman's parents, grinding them up, and putting them in the chili that he was then going to serve Scott Tannerman, and you don't find out until the last second. And then to cap it all off, the kid is a huge Radiohead fan.
Yeah.
So right after he's eaten his parents in the chili, he starts crying and freaking out, and Radiohead just happens to be there, and they're like, oh, why are you crying, you little crybaby? So then they start ripping on the kid, and then Cartman celebrates, and he's like, I made you eat your parents. And then everyone's like, whoa, remind me not to mess with Cartman ever again. So classic episode.
I think it's similar, but a little bit higher extreme than like the Critter Christmas, because it sets it up this whole time. Like you think you have this expectation and like this something, but you don't know it's gonna go as far as it goes until the end, and it's just that moment like, whoa. Yeah, and South Park kind of mastered that. Awesome. All right, well, we are down to our top 2 favorite South Park episodes each, so 4 more episodes. My number 2 favorite South Park episode of all time is gonna be the Mormon episode. So if you are familiar with the creators of South Park, Matt and Trey, they, I think, grew up and lived in Colorado, and obviously probably were fascinated by the Church of Latter-day Saints for a long time. They did a movie called Orgasmo, where the main character is a Church of Latter-day Saints member and kind of gets roped into being a pornographic actor. And so there's a lot of Mormon jokes in there. Obviously, they created Book of Mormon, which is, South Park is their most recognizable thing, but Book of Mormon is that thing that crossed over that everybody said, like, oh, well, okay, I know these guys created South Park, I'd never let my kids watch it, but, like, they can do this comedy, too, and just, like, solidified them as, like, approachable comedy for anybody, and confirmed. And so, like, I think they've always had this fascination, obviously, I don't think I'm surprising anyone, they've always had a fascination with, like, Church of Latter-day Saints and Mormonism, and the episode where they kind of explain the Mormon beliefs and have the little Joseph Smith song, dum da dum dum dum, is just, like, it's one of those really funny episodes but I think they also, what I like what they do with comedy is that it's not just comedy that beats down, that just like has a target and beats it down. It's comedy that either comes from a passion and like likes the thing a lot and has passion about it but wants to still poke fun at it, or is curious about something. So it always, while it does have a target and makes fun of it, it also still presents the target's good qualities. Because like Stan and Kyle, or like the kids, the dads, I think Randy, they all like see the Mormon family, like, Stan's like, Dad, why can't we have board game night? It's like, stupid. Like there are positive things about like people that follow these beliefs and stuff. Their culture is just different, and so it's really cool that like South Park always does that. I think that Mormon episode really highlights how good they can do comedy about something and like put it up to both lights.
Yeah, the kid, I forgot what the kid's name was from the Mormon family. He's the most likable kid, and at the end of the episode, like, Stan doesn't want to have any part of him. And the kid's like,
You don't have to worry about me trying to be your friend anymore. I don't? Look, maybe us Mormons do believe in crazy stories that make absolutely no sense. And maybe Joseph Smith did make it all up. But I have a great life and a great family. And I have the Book of Mormon to thank for that. The truth is, I don't care if Joseph Smith made it all up. Because what the church teaches now is loving your family, being nice, and helping people. And even though people in this town might think that's stupid, I still choose to believe in it. All I ever did was try to be your friend, Stan. But you're so high and mighty you couldn't look past my religion and just be my friend back. You got a lot of growing up to do, buddy. Suck my balls.
great episode. So my second favorite South Park episode of all time, it is a two-parter, Cartoon Wars. The one where Family Guy threatens that they're going to show Mohammed, and they just go off. They no holds barred. Like, there's no redeeming quality. Well, actually, they do. So this is one where I was a Family Guy going in, and I still liked Family Guy after the episode, but they brought up a really good point about the writing. The joke was, it's just a bunch of manatees. The Family Guy writers are just a bunch of manatees in a tank. Then they pick up an idea ball and they put it in this machine, and then it's like, Gary Coleman, laundry, and it's like, oh, a perfect Family Guy joke. It's like, you think that's bad? Remember the time where Gary Coleman didn't want to do laundry? And then I watched some of Seth MacFarlane's rebuttal, and he was like, look, don't pick on the writers. Like, those little cutaway bits, those are actually the hardest ones to write because we have to have a payoff in a very short amount of time. So, but it was one of the only South Park episodes that actually changed, like, my beliefs on something. I was just like, man. And they went really, really hard. And hopefully there's no lingering tension between the two, because I do like both shows. I like South Park. I prefer South Park, but I still do like Family Guy. I think Family Guy's hilarious. So yeah, that's my number 2.
For sure. All right. Well, here we are. The final moment. I have an episode that I do think gets mentioned as a top episode. And like I said at the very beginning of this video, I feel like this was the episode that kind of made me like, I had seen South Park growing up and had seen some episodes and new characters and stuff. But I think this was the episode that made me go like, oh, they touch on like current culture and like in a really clever and smart way. And again, in a way that has a target, but paints it positively and does like great satire of it and like makes fun of it. My number 1 favorite South Park episode of all time is Make Love, Not Warcraft. The Warcraft episode is fantastic. I grew up playing a lot of video games in my younger years. I would say probably around like the 4 or 5 years before this episode came out, I wasn't playing as much video games. But like kind of after this, I would definitely consider myself a gamer. I play a lot of video games. And I still followed games, so I knew how big Warcraft was. And to watch this episode and just see like all the in-jokes and like nerdy satire and poking fun at like the kinds of people that Warcraft players are, and how like disgusting it is with Cartman saying they're like, Mom! Bathroom! Bathroom! Like, and you just have to play. People were super addicted. Like, this is true. Like, people would sit there and play for hours and not take care of their health and body. So it made Warcraft, like, the kids loved it, made it super fun. And again, like, showing that Warcraft is this awesome thing. Randy gets into it, of course. Oh, the Sword of 1,000 Truths, you know, on a USB flash drive or something. It's perfect, like, satire and observational humor of, like, a current trend. And I think that's what sold me on how good they had their, like, ear to the pulse of, like, pop culture and how well they could quickly find something really funny and really clever to say about these things. So Make Love, Not Warcraft for me is my favorite South Park episode.
Super cool. So my number 1 favorite South Park episode of all time, Fish Sticks.
Yes.
Just the joke they start off with, it's just perfect. Do you like fish sticks? So you like putting fish sticks in your mouth. What are you, gay fish? Totally takes over the world. And the one person who didn't get the joke, Kanye West. and he pulls up this whole chart, and he's like trying to figure out, why do people think I'm a gay fish? And then they tied in Carlos Mencia because he was known right at that time for stealing jokes. And then the end of the episode where Kanye finally accepts his fate as a gay fish. And then they recorded that. I listen to the song all the time because it's super catchy. Gay fish. Yeah. Motherfucking gay fish. I used to be scared, denying who I was, acting straight, but then going out to the gay fish clubs. It's so good. Like the way they... And then a little behind the scenes that I found when they did the commentary on that episode is with auto-tune, Trey kept trying to get the auto-tune to work, but it wouldn't work. So they're like, what's going on? But you have to sing off-key in order for auto-tune to do his thing. So he's like, you have to be a terrible singer if you want auto-tune to sound good on your voice. So I just thought that was a funny episode. But yeah, from the song to the episode to the thing that humbled Kanye for a brief moment. For a very brief moment. Yeah, Fish Sticks, my number one favorite South Park episode of all time.
Nice. Well, there you have it. Chris's, Matt's top 6 favorite South Park episodes. Did you have any ones that you agree with us on? Do you have your own list? We'd love to see it.